What's really fascinating is when the media cover the media covering President Trump, the kind of tone that is taken, the kind of bias that creeps in. New York Times has this big piece about how liberals are flocking back to TV in the Trump era, and this has helped MSNBC, and particularly Rachel Maddow's ratings, and she's interviewed. And then there are pieces about, part of that piece is about late night comics, Stephen Colbert, for example, Samantha Bee, as well as Bill Maher and others, Trevor Noah, who are prospering in the ratings because they are ripping Trump, and apparently their fans like that. Fine to report that, and it certainly helps a liberal network like MSNBC to have a big target as it did during the Bush administration, but there wasn't a sentence in that piece that said, maybe it's at least questionable or some skepticism, or maybe it's not such a hot idea for people who host major network shows, even late night, to be alienating, potentially half their audience by constantly banging on Trump. They didn't do it with Barack Obama. Obviously, they can do whatever they want, but there was no skepticism there. The New Yorker, liberal magazine, doesn't like Trump, really doesn't like Trump, has a big piece about whether President Trump is trolling the press because he beats up on the press, and a lot of it was devoted to the White House briefing room and the questions that are asked, and how some conservative organizations like LifeZette and Daily Caller and One America, Breitbart, now not only come to the briefings, but they get questions either of the president or of Sean Spicer, and kind of casting this as a not so healthy development. It's certainly fair to question some of the questions and some of those who've come in by Skype, and I've done that. But when Obama was president again, and the liberal Huffington Post got to ask questions of the president and the press secretary, or BuzzFeed got an interview with President Obama, didn't see a lot of sort of hand-wringing over whether this was in any way diluting or debasing the culture of the briefing room. But if you want the clearest cut example of the way there is this sort of embedded mindset against Donald Trump in the mainstream media, it had to come in the Washington Post, which ran the following headline, I kid you not. And this had to do with, well, I'll explain it in a second. A group of environmental activists pulled off a daring act of defiance. And what was this daring act of defiance? Well, a bunch of environmental protesters snuck into the Trump National Golf Club in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, and they carved big 6-foot letters into the greens. No more tigers, no more woods. I don't know, I don't get it either. In other words, they broke the law and defaced private property, and the Washington Post depicted this as a daring act of defiance. Now, to the paper's credit, somebody caught it. An editor's note was published saying this didn't accurately reflect, and the new lead said, right here, a group of environmental activists pulled off an elaborate act of vandalism at one of President Trump's premier golf courses. Now, just imagine what the media reaction would have been if a property owned by or associated with Bill Clinton or Barack Obama had been vandalized. Do you think that would have been seen as a daring act of defiance by at least one headline writer or one web writer? I don't think so. And so this is why I think people hate the media, and this is why when President Trump vociferously complains about the kind of coverage he gets, unfair in his view, hostile in his view, it has some resonance because of incidents like this.